Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Marie and I just love spilling the tea here. I did this post about things I do and don't do as a vegan back in December and it generated some views. So I put it on the shelf for a while, but I feel like I'm ready to talk about it now. I want to talk about this thoroughly and in detail with more words than what you can do in an Instagram carousel. I think this is one of those things that require and deserve context and nuance. I'm doing this mainly because I've been a vegan for almost 10 years and I've had ups and downs in this lifestyle, for sure, 100%. I think most people have because the world is not designed for veganism, so you will ultimately struggle in one way or another. And how we deal with that can be vastly different. One of the things that I'm seeing is a lot of people stepping away from veganism or plant-based eating altogether. And I think that's a shame because there's so many benefits and good things about it. Overall, like no matter what you eat, we need to reduce the consumption of animal products overall from an environmental perspective, from a health perspective, as well as, you know, ethically, this is as far from nature as possible. Even if you think humans are naturally designed to eat meat, there's nothing natural about animal agriculture. Is literally as far removed from nature as humanly possible. Either way, we need to fucking relax with the industrial animal agriculture exploitation. What I think can be a problem is if you exist in a community or a movement where some voices expect everyone within it to react and behave in the same way, in a uniform manner. So in order to provide some nuance, I thought I want to share some of the things that I do, the nuances I apply, or the ways that I deal with imperfect veganism or whatever you want to call it, right? And let you guys know that this is also a way to be vegan. This is also something that is okay. Maybe not everyone feels that way, but that's okay. If we all agree about the goal, how we practice it, and how we make sure we can do it for as long as possible is kind of where it matters, right? And also like to point out, I do know the difference between veganism and plant-based. I do know. I sometimes use them interchangeably anyway, because I don't care. True, I do care. Veganism is a philosophical way of thinking about animals. It's thinking that animals shouldn't be used or exploited for their bodies, for their products in any capacity, not just for food, but also what you put in your covers and going to zoos and having pets to some extent, using animal products in fashion, like anything related to exploiting animals. In veganism, it is all wrong. Makes sense? Good. Plant-based is a diet. It is a way to eat. And I think for me, the reason why I use them interchangeably, because to me they overlap quite a lot. I do understand, however, that there is a philosophical standpoint and there is like a common practice. But, and I'll come back to this many times in this video, but whether or not you believe something morally, ethically, like philosophically, what you believe here, and like how you exist in the world cannot always be the same. Like you will constantly be facing nuances and times where you have to redirect or reassess what you do. Like no one in any capacity lives 100% according to their moral compass. Ever. But I'll get back to that. These are some of the things I do and don't do as an imperfect vegan. This is going to be a long talky video, so just like make yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, strap yourselves in. It's getting wild. So the first thing I don't care about as a vegan is cross-contamination. If I cared about cross-contamination, I wouldn't be able to eat anywhere. So whenever I travel and go anywhere, I will always seek out the places that are 100% vegan. From a business perspective, I would just much rather support those places. But that is not always possible. It is not very often where that is actually possible. I live in a small city. If I go to Copenhagen, things are different. I can support those places, but we don't have them here. And many places I travel, they don't have them. So if I cared about cross-contamination all the time, there literally wouldn't be a calm moment in a restaurant. And from my perspective, what really matters is where you spend your money and what kind of demand you're creating. If I spend my money on a plant-based option and it's cooked next to a meat option, my money still goes to the plant-based option, still creates that demand. If you're grossed out by the fact that things are touching or using the same oil, etc., that's completely fine. Like if that makes you uncomfortable, that's completely fine. Personally, I just don't necessarily see the issue. And that's on me. I just don't. If we're talking like frying oil, like if my fries are fried in the same oil as chicken nuggets, it's like 180 degrees Celsius, like it doesn't matter. It's so warm. So I love when there is a separate little fryer. I think that's really nice, very considerate, but it's not a deal breaker for me if there isn't. What really matters to me is how I spend my money and what demand I'm creating. A hill that I am absolutely willing to die on, and I know this is gonna create different reactions, and rightfully so, but I will use my inherited, my vintage leather, wool and silk pieces until they fall apart. They're older than I am anyway, they will probably outlive me. I would much rather use those things that are already in circulation rather than buying new. You can get plant-based versions of leather, silk and wool without microplastics, without that material being derived from fossil fuels. It's just the most available alternatives, and I don't subscribe to that. There are other options, and I'm working on a video about different kinds of plant-based leathers and the pros and cons, etc. So more is coming, but using what is already in circulation and not creating demand for more material to be made, to me, is just so much more important than the history of the garment that I'm wearing. I'm vegan, but I'm also an environmentalist. And looking at it from an environmentalist perspective, this is one of those situations where like perfect veganism and perfect environmentalism kind of clash a little bit, because perfect vegan would say not using any animal products whatsoever, but the environmentalist in me say, well, things that are already in the waste stream, things that are already in circulation, things that I already own, is much more sustainable to use than creating demand for new products to be made. So I will just do that. And then sometimes one of the things that I hear often is that then you legitimize or normalize wearing leather if you wear old leather, because people don't know if it's old, vintage, inherited. They just see you wearing leather and think, oh, okay, this makes me want to wear leather as well. If we're saying that is true, and I don't necessarily think that it is, but if we're saying that is true, that would also mean that wearing plant-based leathers is out as well. Because if you try to mimic leather without having leather in it, and it's convincing, you are still normalizing wearing leather then, because people can't decode what it's made out of. Does that make sense? Maybe this is just me. I just don't spend a lot of time trying to analyze and predict what people think or how people interpret me when they see me on the street. I would much rather focus on what I'm actually saying, how I'm using my voice and how I'm using my money, my resources. Things I can control. Again, how people interpret me from across the street is out of my control anyway. I'm not going to focus on that. That is wasted energy. You will use all your energy until you have nothing left if you focus on that part. Again, if you're not comfortable with that, that is okay too. That is okay too. There is not one solution that's going to fix all the problems in the world. We need multiple solutions. So we need people not buying the products, supporting companies that do things differently, and we need people using the things that are already here. Both things exist at the same time. I don't care if a product on the back says contain traces of seafood, milk, eggs, etc. And the reason why I don't care about that, I had a really hard time with this when I started going vegan because I didn't understand what it meant. I do now, and I see a lot of people online not really understanding what this means. It doesn't mean that there are small bits of milk or eggs or seafood in your product. It means that it's made in a facility that also handles these materials and ingredients. And they have to put it on there in case there's someone deadly allergic, where just a speck of it can create a reaction. It's a legal thing. They have to do it because some people could die. But it doesn't mean that when you're buying this product, you're also creating demand for these products to be made. And then we're back to cross-contamination. It is a cross-contamination thing. And we don't care about that. I don't know if we don't. I don't care about that. I'm not gonna speak for you, of course, but I don't care about that. So at this point, I just disregard the whole may contain traces of, because it doesn't mean it is actually in the product. And this is where I know it gets controversial. There are different ways of dealing with this. My post generated some reactions, and I understand why. There's a lot of feelings involved here. It's okay. So if I'm at a restaurant and they mess up my order, not in big ways, but in smaller ways. If they mess up my order, say I ordered a vegan burger and I learned that the bun had milk in it, or they might have given me the wrong dressing. And this is an arbitrary boundary to me, by the way, completely arbitrary. It's not rooted in anything specific other than my feelings. If it's straight up meat that's in it, or if it's cheese, the story is different. But if it's minuscule things, if one of the ingredients in the bread is milk, I'm not going to throw the whole thing away and ask them to make me a new one. I'm just not. If you are, fine. It's just, I am also painfully aware of the impact of food waste. And once again, these things clash and collide. This doesn't mean I don't care. If it's not an easy swap, and if there's no one else I can swap with, if there's someone else where I can give it to and then I can go order my regular thing, I will obviously do that. But as a last resort, I'll just eat it. I'll let the restaurant know that they made a mistake, but I will still eat it. And yeah. But again, arbitrary boundary. It has happened a handful of times. I still believe in the principles of veganism, the overall definition being avoiding animal products and animal exploitation as far as possible and practicable, to the extent that it is realistic and possible for you. I know the meaning, I know the goal, I know the idea. But sometimes things happen imperfectly in the real world. That doesn't take the whole title away, because like, when would I then be vegan again? Like, how long after I had that 1% milk in bread bun before I could call myself a vegan? Like, it is arbitrary, and spending so much energy thinking about the label and the identity of it all just really doesn't sit right with me. I will do things I think is reasonable, and I will do my absolute utmost best to always cause as little harm as possible. Does that look different from day to day and depending on other people's mistakes and things I can't control? Absolutely. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm really just not. I make a mistake. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm just not. If I know what my intentions are, and if it's something that happens on accident, I'm not going to beat myself up. I've had this happen to me a few times. I've ordered a burger where I'd taken like a big bite of it before realizing that it was fried chicken that was in there. When my partner had my plant burger and I had his, really confusing. And we just switch around. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. I've also once tried where I was out at a bar with some friends and we got some takeout, and we might have been a little bit tipsy, I don't know. But one of my friends said, "Oh, this is super tasty," and asked if I wanted to try it, and I just tried it, assuming that she knew that if it wasn't vegan, I wouldn't have it. And I was a little bit drunk, so I just had a bite of it before looking at her like, "There's chicken in here," and then she realized that, oh no, fuck. And then that was it. When I first became vegan, and when I started this whole like first vegetarian then vegan journey, I was on YouTube quite a lot, and I followed a lot of the like big voices for veganism on YouTube, and a lot of them had these videos where they talk about accidentally eating something that wasn't vegan, and I think their reaction has been deeply detrimental to how I started my vegan journey. I have heard the story time videos on people going out and throwing up to make sure that this piece of chicken or what it was wasn't in their stomachs, that kind of reaction. And it was pretty common to hear those stories where people did this. So I thought that that was how you were supposed to react. And as someone with a history of eating disorders and disordered eating patterns, that kind of reaction is the biggest no-go. I have spent so much time and energy trying to learn and understand that if something happens and it wasn't your fault, just get over it. Continue moving on. If you have another reaction to it, that is on you, that is okay, that is your reaction, that is you. I'm just trying really hard to make sure that the way I am eating is in a way where I can continue to do it for the rest of my life. And in order to do that, I have to put as much distance between my healthy eating patterns and my history with eating disorders as possible. They cannot touch at any point. And going out actively throwing up would definitely set something in motion. But I'm not going to beat myself up over it, because I have spent too many years down that path. Another thing I would like to talk about is ultra-processed food hysteria. I am not a vegan for my health. Sometimes there are assumptions that I am vegan because of my health, or I get comments when I show something that is unhealthy, that it shouldn't be as processed or it should be healthier. Can a girl just live? I love fast food as much as the next person. I want greasy, gross versions that are vegan of the things that I used to love in the past. Are you going to have these every day? No. But what a healthy eating pattern looks to you is different than what it looks to me. I'm not going to demonize seed oils. I can literally my brain hurts. I cannot demonize this whole category of food. So I am going to have my vegan nuggets once in a while. I'm going to have my meat substitutes once in a while. They can actually be really helpful. Still 10 years in, I still love these products. I still use them all the time. I just also make bean stews and lentil steaks and dal and ragouts. I do all those things as well. But moderation, balance, and I'm not going to buy into the whole clean eating. It's hysteric to me, honestly. Just, you do you, but I'm just not gonna. I want my fries and my nuggets and my dressing. Okay. Lastly, and I think this is one of my most important points, something that really matters a lot to me that I get to say. If you care about any of these things, or if there's some other things I don't care about that you do, some of the things I do care about that you don't, that's okay too. We don't have to have the exact same priorities, as long as what we're doing is that we're living in a way where we can maintain this lifestyle, where we can have encouragement and motivation to keep going for as long as possible. And that looks different to everyone. I think there is a vast value in understanding that not everyone can and will be the same, not when it comes to any lifestyle or philosophical point of view. And it is unrealistic and detrimental to expect it from veganism. But as long as we have the same common goal, I think we're gonna get a long way. We can already see that, it is already happening. More and more people are coming into this movement. I think it's important how we talk about these things and let there be room for these differences and nuances within this context. As long as we agree that limiting and reducing animal exploitation and harm as much as possible is the main reason why we're here. And if you come in here from a health perspective, from a dietary perspective, if you come in here from an environmental perspective like I did, or if you come in here from an ethical perspective, we're all in the same boat. Now, I came from an environmental perspective, and that is still one of my primary reasons. But you can't really exist or stay within this space without also facing, acknowledging, and having it matter deeply to you what is happening to animals within this industry. No one can be for this. Like, nobody can be for this when they see this with their own eyes either. So no matter what you come in with, not having the ethics part of it affect you, I think, is basically impossible. Determining or calling out who is vegan, who you think is not vegan, who you think is, and like who gets to wear that badge or use that label identity, I think is a very skewed and wrong way of using our energy. I think it helps no one. I think it keeps people away from the community, and it creates this exit for people that were sort of already on the verge of going in and out. And everyone, in my opinion, is welcome to come in and learn. That's a part of it. No one comes in fully formed and perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect environmentalist. And because we live in a world that's not designed for veganism, expecting perfect veganism all the time, I don't think is realistic. We can talk about ways we can improve and be better and do better. And I think this is the most important thing, create a framework that is inherently easier to exist within as someone who follows a vegan lifestyle or a plant-based diet. Either. I hope you like this video, and if you want to continue the discussion in the comments, I would love to hear what you think. Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing day. Take really good care of yourselves. Until next time.